Have you ever been at a friend's house or at a school camp and it's late at night, darkness has set in, it starts to get a little bit colder, and someone grabs a flashlight and starts to tell a scary story just like this? It was one such night on Hawani Farm. I'm sure you can relate. When the wind blows and howls through the trees, and the power cut. My sister and I had been playing in a room in the back of the house. So, as any good brother would, I mustered up the courage to walk down the corridor and try my way into the kitchen to find matches and candles. But just as I got towards the kitchen, I looked up and I saw the face of a man standing in the kitchen. Struck by fear, I ran back down the corridor, jumped into my parents' room and said, "Dad, there's an intruder in our house," sending my father out to fend off the burglar. Within seconds, my dad had paced down the hallway with his flashlight and shone it into the kitchen. Thinking I would hear screams and shouts, I heard my dad's belly-rolling laughter break out as he shouted back down the corridor, "Joshua, come see this." The funny thing was I had washed a plate that night and left it on the drying rack in the kitchen. The drying rack just happened to be high enough that it looked like a person's face as the moonlight shone behind the plate. Hi, I'm Joshua Ward, Ash's younger brother. I live in the States right now, but what COVID-19 has taught us through the lockdown is we're now able to stream messages from around the world, and so it's my privilege and honor to be a part of the Potter's Wheel youth program through this season. So thanks for tuning in. It's great to be with you. The topic for today is the dangers of dating in the dark. You just heard my silly story from when I was about 10 years old and the power went off. And I misjudged that plate as a burglar in our house. And what that silly story taught me was two truths. Firstly, in the dark, you can misjudge what is there. So you can see something and believe it to be something that it's not. And the second is this, the true danger that may very well be there may be completely hidden by the darkness. And those variables are just as representative in our relationships, specifically romantic relationships. So for the purpose of our discussion, when we talk about the dangers of dating in the dark, the darkness we're talking about here is hidden relationships, keeping things hidden from our authorities or our advisors, our trusted counsels, or our close friends. Now, the opposite of darkness in this term would be transparency. And what I'm not saying with the word transparency is public. I'm not calling for you to put your relationship drama on social media or to gossip about it with your friends. I don't think that's helpful at all. In fact, it's often incredibly hurtful. But what we are talking about today is this concept of bringing in advisors, wise people to walk us along the path of romantic relationships when that time is right. I've heard it said many times that you are the sum conclusion of your three closest friends. And what that means is the people you hang out with a lot of the time end up rubbing off on you. And to some extent shaping and molding who you become. And nowhere else is this more true than the area of romantic relationships. Love is one of those areas where we allow it to speak, or our heart to speak, louder than logic. And what's funny is often these crushes can grow pretty quickly into a hidden relationship. And when you find yourself in this place of wondering whether or not you should keep secret this romantic pursuit, there are really three scenarios in which most hidden relationships take place in. The first is if you're not allowed to pursue a romantic relationship. Maybe your parents have told you, hey, you know what, you're too young, and so you're just simply not allowed to date anyone. And then the second is maybe the person you're interested in has a really bad reputation for being a bad kid. Maybe they're naughty or just are known for doing naughty things. And so you don't want to be judged according to their behavior, and so you don't tell people that you're pursuing a relationship with them. The third, and probably honestly the most dangerous, is maybe you either intend to or are actively pursuing inappropriate behavior with the person. And so you don't want other people to know about it because you're ashamed about what you're doing, and so you keep the relationship hidden. And if you were completely honest, maybe you don't even want people to call you out on it because you don't want to have to stop. In all three examples, there's one thing that's true, and that is you're pursuing something that you know to be wrong. And the end conclusion of that, I guarantee you, is pain. It's pain for you, it's pain for the other person. It can be an and/or, but most of the time it's a both. Both you and the other person are going to end up being hurt. Interesting thing is the Bible speaks directly to this whole concept of our heart speaking so loudly above the parameters of logic or even that which we desire for ourselves. Here's what Jeremiah 17:9 says. The heart is deceitfully wicked above all else. Another really good one that hits on this topic is Romans 7:15. For I do not understand even my own actions, for I do what I do not want to do. I do the things that I hate. Another translation is, for I do not do what I want to, but I do the very things I hate. We begin to see this pattern of understanding that even Scripture speaks to this human condition of desiring what we should not have and doing the things we should not do, even as well-intentioned Christians. So that's why it's so important to bring wise advisors into our life, to call us out where we're going astray, specifically and especially in the areas of romantic relationships. Because again, that is where we allow our heart to be so deceitfully wicked, or to speak so loudly. It's interesting, Wahida brought up 2 or 3 weeks ago this concept of toxic relationships as a product of obsession, and how quickly a crush can move into this parameter of complete obsession. And it's totally normal, you guys, to have crushes as you are in high school and just learning the emotions that go with hormones flowing through your body. You're learning that girls don't actually have cooties or guys don't have cooties. And I don't mean that to be belittling, but there's a very real biological response going on there to your body understanding this attraction. And so this concept of, all right, biologically there's something going on where you're dealing with attraction. And here it becomes a mental scenario where that moves to this mental game of obsession. But Philippians 4:8 speaks directly to the heart of obsession, and it says to you guys, as Christians, here's what we should be thinking on. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence in it, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And so if you find yourself obsessing over someone or something, realize, hey, Scripture speaks directly to this. We're supposed to be thinking on the things that are pure. Am I thinking pure thoughts of this person or this thing? And not only could it be a huge waste of time to obsess over someone, maybe you're a guy and you're failing your math class because you're obsessed over this gorgeous girl who sits next to you, and the whole class you're trying to get her attention instead of studying the actual subject matter. And at the end of the day, she's not interested in you and you fail class. So what a complete waste of your time. But beside it being a complete waste of time, in this parameter of dating in the dark, it can be really dangerous. If you merge obsession with deception or secret relationships, dating in the dark or romantic relationships in the dark, there's this lethal combination where you've idealized through your obsession, or maybe you've even idolized the other person, removing the human flawedness behind each one of us. So you credit them too much. You see this person as this gorgeous, perfect human being, when really, just like I looked at the plate and thought, hey, that's a burglar, and I ran away. Maybe what you're seeing isn't really how things are. And here's the thing, if you're keeping the relationship in the dark, if you're keeping that hidden, you don't allow for the wisdom of others to speak into that and shine their flashlight into the situation and say, hey, I'm worried, this is what I'm seeing. So that's the danger of not only the dating in the dark danger, but also, hey, if you pair that with obsession, be careful, it's really risky. So Proverbs, the book of Proverbs was written by King Solomon, wisest man to ever live, not including Jesus, of course. But Proverbs 11:14 tells us what we really can point to in this. Where there is no guidance, a people falls or fails, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. The NIV translation is my preferred one for this one. So listen to this. For a lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. So what that teaches us, what King Solomon, this wise man, is saying to us is, if we want to be set up to succeed in life, we really need to consult a lot of wise advisors. The caveat to the advisors part is you've got to find the wise people. And as Christians, I would recommend that you look for people who represent the life lived out in faith as well, not just achieving the success that you would like to achieve, but also living a life of righteousness. And so please don't consult a friend that's stuck in the same pattern of sin as you and expect that they'll be able to coach you out of it. They're battling with the same thing. Your advice from them is really just going to keep you in the same place. Parents are a great starting point. Parents understand romantic relationships and the challenges involved. Also, small group leaders or pastors in the church. Generally, people who are slightly older than you make great advisors if they're living their life out well, because they've probably faced the same challenges you've had to face. Okay, so let's go back to this idea of hiding things in the dark. In the story of me walking down that passageway, I was scared. And the truth is, I was always scared of the dark as a kid, until I learned to appreciate the darkness. But my appreciation for the darkness was only when I needed to hide something. Sin grows in the darkness, and the trouble with keeping relationships hidden in the darkness or in secret is that we are inclined to make really bad decisions. And those decisions lead to more bad decisions. It's kind of like a lie that builds on itself. And those bad decisions, when you've got a romantic relationship held in the dark, leads to this crushing weight of guilt and shame. And as you get stuck in this vortex of sin, often what happens is you just find yourself repeating this toxic relationship pattern. And the anecdote to that the thing that you can overcome this whole mess with, is opening it up and being transparent with a select group of wise advisors. As a Christian, we don't have to look too far often to know what it is we're hiding, because we feel the Lord's conviction in the area of that guilt and shame. And so here's what Galatians 5:19 points out to watch out for this. And it's a really serious scripture, so listen closely. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, jealousy, strife, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, and the list goes on. And here's where, listen to this point that the author finishes off with. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. So it's a pretty stern warning in the scripture that we really do have to be careful of things like sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, and idolatry. Those are things that are really serious risks, specifically as it pertains to relationships kept in the dark. I do want to be clear, what we're not saying is, hey guys, here's a perfect path for you to follow, and then God will be pleased with you, and you can be a good Christian. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm married to the most incredible young lady, Caroline. We're going on 2 years of marriage, and I'd say we didn't get it perfect either. Whether that was being perfect in the pursuit of one another or being perfect in how we love each other well now. And so it's not about being perfect for God to love you. God already loves you. That's taken care of. You are saved by grace through faith. And so this isn't some message of condemnation. It's merely some scriptural principles that should be directly applicable in most challenges of life, but specifically in the area of romantic relationships. And so here are our hearts in this. We don't want you to have to feel the same pain that we've been through from mistakes that have been made, either I've made or friends have made, and I've watched people just get stuck in the same places. Before we close off, I want to just remind you here, if you've heard anything in this discussion, I really hope you've heard this, that hiding your romantic relationships can be dangerous. And when we leave things in the dark, we tend to misjudge what is truly there. We think we see a burglar when really it's a dinner plate, or maybe you think this girl or guy is perfect, and really there are character flaws that you should be able to see, and you need other people to show you where they are. Or maybe the dangers that do exist, you just can't see because you're totally blindsided to them. And without wise counsel, you will never find them. Maybe it's that an obsession can lead to this place where you hide the relationship, and when you're obsessed and the relationship's in the dark, you simply are completely blinded by your own blind spots or by the other person's manipulation. Either way, it leads to a toxic relationship. And when we leave things hidden, we're inclined to make really bad decisions. And those bad decisions, that misbehaving that happens in the dark, leads to guilt and shame, which just perpetuates the whole cycle again. So we beat this by bringing in wise counsel, being transparent with the areas we're battling with, being open about our intentions in our relationships. Know this: a relationship should only be pursued in the right season. And that right season often really needs to be submitted to your authority. In this season of your life, that authority is probably your parents or your pastors. Really, the more people who you seek out as godly authorities in your life and submit that to, the better. That's really God's way of safeguarding us against hurt and pain that's caused by hiding stuff. But here's another truth for you. You are valued, you're cared for, and you are loved, if by nobody else on the planet, by Jesus Christ himself. And that should be enough for us. But more than that, there are pastors in this church that love you. There are small group leaders that love you. You have parents that love you and care for you and want your best. And so you have a team of people cheering you on who are ready to be your advisors, who want to see you succeed in life. Turn to those people, the people of character, the people who live out the life that you'd like to lead, and be open with them. Be careful who you share your heart's truth with. And remember, Solomon's words of calling people in to have advisors for a successful life had the caveat of making sure they were wise advisors. Be blessed as you go out and find wise people to speak into your life and walk this path of romantic relationships with you in the right season. Don't rush on that. Wait till the time is right and the person is right. It's much worse to be with someone who's not right than to be alone and in a much healthier position. God bless you.